Well, everybody, it's Monday. Welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, the big and furry bovine. Joining me, boy, it's dwindling because, when there just isn't that much, and even as we speak,
cut two.
Roxanne belched. She belched and hightailed right out. So it's me and Rick. Rick and a dog named Boo. That's all. Yeah.
A party of one here.
Yeah,
and here comes Brian.
Yeah. So today, though, we have an interesting program lined up for you. There are two main subjects, and there will be other things that we touch upon with the Browns later on in the program. But initially, we start with the NBA Finals, and then we talk about, I have a slightly different take on why the Cleveland Indians are so bad. A lot of fans were having difficulty understanding why Paul Dolan would choose to just tank and just start over when the door appeared to be open, at least a little bit, the window a little bit still open for an opportunity to go further, why they didn't do anything and let themselves sink the way they have. I have some interesting thoughts that I think, if nothing else, you haven't heard them anywhere else. And it's not the one
of them is one of them he's a cheap fucker?
No, nor is the one that he fucks animals. No.
You're thinking of another show, Brian.
Yeah, But at any rate, let's start with the NBA Finals because you know that I told you what was going to happen, and thought like it's not exactly a genius scenario, knowing that the Warriors would win Game 2. The only thing that's going to make this series interesting is that 99 bottles of beer on the wall, 99 bottles of beer. I mean, it looks like the Warriors are being decimated one player at a time. So we'll talk about hamstring injuries in general, and
they put one of yours in the hospital. You put one of theirs in the morgue.
Okay, there you go. Thank you, Sean. Thank you. If a man comes at you with a knife, you go back with a gun. What are you prepared to do? Yeah, thank you. At least somebody's talking my Sean Connery language. Then you have to slap a woman after you say that, right? So we have a situation where they're saying, coaching strategy is what did it for them in game number 2. Well, an 18-0 run in the third quarter had a lot to do with it. But stop and think for a minute at what really happened in this game compared to game 1. I'm going to hearken back to when LeBron James first made the playoffs with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and we were in the finals mistakenly. It was a case of mistaken identity. We were mistaken for a finals team that year. And we were in against the San Antonio Spurs. And basically what they did is they just made LeBron's life a living hell and made other guys beat them. And, of course, there was nobody capable of beating them, so that was that. So here we go again. We have a Raptors team that in game 1 got 32 points from Pascal Siakam, all right? And Kawhi Leonard only had 21 points in that game, but Gasol had 20, and this is what they had in game 1 to win. In game 2, Pascal Siakam was 5 for 18. His shot volume stayed the same, but he didn't make any of them. All right. So 12 points. Kawhi Leonard had only a 40% shooting game, 8 for 20. So he was volumizing, if that's the word, his shots, but he was 16 of 16 from the free throw line. What does that tell me? Tells me that they were going to make life hard on Kawhi Leonard. They're going to say, you may score your points, young man, but it's going to pay a physical toll on you. We'll put you at the free throw line, which is all well and good. We're going to wear you down because eventually this will get later in the series and you can't do this all by yourself. Marc Gasol said, you're damn straight. He can't do it by himself, but hey, what's wrong with me letting him try? 2 for 7 with only 6 points. Marc Gasol turned into a pumpkin at midnight. And Kyle Lowry never shows up. I mean, this is one thing. Do you know Kyle Lowry was a negative 17 on the plus minus while he was on the floor, and minus 17 with their starting point guard on the floor. He was, again, the usual 4 of 11 from the floor. Didn't do a damn bit of good for the team and only scored 13 points. Danny Green has aged before our very eyes. He looks slow, and he only scored 8 points. And what is going to help this team off the bench? Well, Van Vliet has consistently been good. But besides that, no. Van Vliet's three-point shot wasn't falling. But Nick Powell, when you play 21 minutes and basically you're 1 of 3 from the three-point line, that's why Nick Powell's on the floor. So if he scores 7 points, he doesn't help you. Serge Ibaka just kind of came and went. 16 minutes and had 10 rebounds, but has been a total non-force offensively for the Raptors. So what is it that was such great coaching strategy? Well, obviously, Pascal Siakam is not going to score 32 points a game, and they're just going to punish Leonard like the Spurs punished LeBron physically, and they're going to force, and Leonard was forcing and taking shots that were not his best shots, and he only shot 40% from the floor, and some of those were three-point attempts. He was only 2 of 9 from 3, so half of his shots were forced from three-point land, and he didn't make them. So, it's a great situation, even when your players are going down faster than, Jenna Jameson. It still helps when the other team really has only one player in Kawhi Leonard, and he's not going to be in Toronto much longer anyway. So the reason that and so what? So let's look at Thompson going out and what his injury is. You saw him with the big ice pack on his hamstring. A lot of people who watch these games have never had these injuries, Rick and Brian. I mean, if you've ever pulled a hamstring, you're not going to play in 2 days, okay? It's not going to happen. And you saw how much worse it was. But from the first time you saw him when he was trying to run it off in the hallway to after the game when he looked like Peg Leg Pete walking around, he had a parrot on his shoulder going, "Aye, mateys." Captain.
Yeah, he's beginning to look a little more like Michael Thompson these days.
I mean, not good. And I don't say that Thompson's chances of playing are going to be very good. Well, maybe Kevin Durant will step in to get that old Willis Reed hometown crowd roar going. But we know that he will be on minute restriction. All right. So the real question is in game 3, can Steph Curry, who is, again, not having the greatest, I don't feel comfortable with him particularly. He was 6 of 17 from the floor. This is very typical of Steph Curry in finals. When he had to carry the ball against the Cavaliers, it wasn't so pretty, until Durant came along, and then it became a hell of a lot easier for him.
Dellavedova being completely in his face really didn't help his cause either.
No, I mean, but it seems to me that Steph Curry becomes, when the series becomes more, in the finals, more physical, Steph Curry suddenly doesn't have those game in, game out, really outstanding performances.
I ain't saying he's soft, but his driver's license picture is Mr. Stay Puffed.
There you go. He's soft. Draymond Green played 41 minutes and cursed 47 times, which is a hell of a ratio. But he was 6 of 12 from the field and got him 17 points, got 10 rebounds, and dished out 9 assists. That's a good game from Draymond Green. Andre Iguodala hit the big shot to make sure that there was no monkey business at the end of the game, though he's only 3 for 8 from three-point land. That was a big shot. And then Boogie Cousins, he's thrilled with the game he had. He was 3 for 8. He had 10 rebounds and 6 assists. Good for him, but he still has no hops whatsoever. He scored 11 points. And then we said Curry scored 23, but it took 17 shots to produce it. And then Thompson, who was just on fire in the beginning of the game, the fact is the Warriors held on at the end of the game without him on the floor, which was a wide open situation for the Raptors, who instead decided to just start trading baskets and stop playing defense. And, you got Quinn Cook, who played 21 minutes and got 9 points, but he had a couple of important threes for Golden State. But they didn't get anything from their bench, really. They're not a deep team. They were forced to play Green 41 minutes, Steph Curry 41 minutes, and Thompson would have played 49 minutes had he not ripped up his hamstring. So, the Warriors aren't as deep as they were. However, the Warriors are still a better team than the Raptors, because if you take Kawhi Leonard out of this, and he's going to become fatigued. Kawhi Leonard is doing so much by himself that he's being bounced around like a pinball. Not a real good situation. And he's not getting, it's proven at this point that Kyle Lowry, Marc Gasol, and Pascal Siakam are not going to be able, game in, game out, and to do their job. And there's only 5 games remaining. And yes, 3 of them are in Golden State. So this is going to be a really difficult thing. Think of it this way. In order to win this series, they have to win 3 of the next 5 games. And the question is, can Pascal Siakam, Marc Gasol, and Kyle Lowry, or God forbid, Powell, can any of these people step up to give them a viable second scorer consistently over that 5-game period? And I think no. I see no indication of it during the course of the season. And
survey says,
yes, survey says, got a Richard Dawson it. Yeah. But an 18-0 scoring run. 18 zip. But we've seen that coming out of the second half from the Warriors for years. That should not take the Raptors by surprise. So I guess the bottom line on this is, don't be surprised. The Warriors are in the driver's seat. And even with Thompson not going to play, and I'm telling you he's not going to play the next game, and I don't think he's going to play the game after that, to be very honest with you. But if Durant proves healthy enough to give them somewhere in the range of 24 minutes and make them 24 productive minutes offensively, the Golden State won't lose, because the Raptors just have nothing to respond with. Now, anybody of our 2 people, or I guess Roxanne is back technically.
Back. Yeah, she just came back in.
Oh, okay. And do you guys have any different opinion of this than I, as far as this finals? Rick, start with you.
No, I saw some stats on the TV. Leonard's shooting percentage has been going down precipitously since the very first playoff series. He was like 50-some% against the Magic. And then the next 2 after that, he was only 40-some% against the Warriors. Right now, it's like 35% average. And they're worried about his knee.
Fatigue.
And
yep.
fatigue. And it's like, he's more or less like Giannis with the Bucks. It's become a one-man show. It says, the rest of you guys, you try and beat us, we'll contain Leonard.
And I think that's a great insight, Rick, because again, and it was something that I actually wrote down, was like, how do you beat the Bucks? And the answer is, well, you just collapse in the lane so that Giannis, if Giannis is going to beat you, let him beat you from behind the 3-point arc, because, it's when he goes to when he goes to the basket and he beats his man off the dribble, it's a guaranteed 2 when he gets around the rim, or at least a foul. But from 3-point land, he can stand there and chuck them up all day long. And unless he has a phenomenal game, he's not going to beat you 4 out of 7 games by shooting and hoisting up from that distance. So that is a really good point. And those statistics that you stated, let's be real about this. Kawhi is giving his everything to get this team as far as he's gotten them, and they would never have made it through the last round without him. He's carried the organization, and that's why he's not going to come back. To put your body through that year in and year out, he is not LeBron James. From a physical perspective, he will break down if he's forced to do that. He's better off being one of many people like he was in San Antonio. He's proven that he deserves props for being a legitimate star in the league. But if he wants to extend his career at this point, he'd be wise to just kind of choose a team that has more help. Brian, you see anything different?
Well, I said all the way back in August that as soon as LeBron moved to the West, that the Warriors were going to take the finals. And even though they gave up game one, it's always been kind of a whoop-de-doo thing with them, whether no matter who they're playing. They especially do this against the Rockets. They don't take them seriously, and then they gave up game one. So, but to beat them 4 games out of 7, I just don't. I don't see that happening. And as far the only way that they do have a chance is if 1 through 8 on their bench suddenly catastrophically die. And they're left, and the Warriors are left with 9 through 14 to play the entire series.
I would love to see like Draymond Green just die on the court, and the announcer for that one game would be Dickie V. That would be my dream fantasy, Mr. Rourke Fantasy Island fantasy.
Pops out of his head and rolls up next to the dead body.
I mean,
Oh my God, Blurt.
Oh my God, he's dead, baby! Almost as dead as Hubie Brown. It's like, oh God, no.
Drake rolling on the floor on the sideline, laughing his ass off.
Trolling the dead man is Drake.
With his hidden tattoos of Curry and
the only black man in Canada, It's like a Great White North, and there's Drake. Yeah. And you know what was really funny about this, and I'll move on to the Cleveland Indians, is how they show the fans walking out of the arena after the game. Those Canadians, God bless them, they were all smiles, like, that was really entertaining, eh?
Yeah.
You lost! You fucking lost home court advantage! And they're like, oh, no, we made it this far. Eh?
It just dawned on him, hey, this isn't like a hockey game. We can actually see their faces,
Hey, I downed about 6 Labatt's Blues. Good night, eh?
Yeah. Where's the Canadian bacon?
I know, fucking Canadians, man. They're happy just to be there. God bless them. Cleveland Indians. Even the ardent supporters on Twitter have kind of lost patience. And they say that it's the end of days, and it's the end of days.
The edge of night.
Where the Indians fans, their actual fandom, all 6 of them, let down their guard long enough to at least expose the potential idea that maybe the team fucked up. But I have a different take on this, because it's easy just to say that Dolan is a cheap bastard and that it's the mid-sized market thing and it's the mentality and all, and it's about making money and all that. I mean, we've heard that 6 million times, but there's something more significant. This is an article from expo.cleveland.com. James Harris, who is the Indians director of player development, probably one of the least important positions in the organization.
Time, huh?
You're in trouble. Here's James Harris. Okay, this is a quote. Asked how he knew if Plesac was ready to make the jump to Cleveland, Harris said, "How do I know? I don't know." Or as I like to say it, I don't know. If we knew Plesac was going to help us in the big leagues, you think we would have started him in Akron? You mean like you did Francisco Lindor all those years?
Oh, you don't mean Dan Plesac?
No.
No, Zach.
Okay.
Zach. If we thought Shane Bieber was going to help us in the big leagues last year,
I'm like, we're going to get Dan Plesac to be the manager? Why the fuck didn't we do that to begin with?
Here's James Harris's explanation. We don't know. We put these guys in opportunities where they can continue to develop, and sometimes things happen. flip a coin. In Plesac's case, he added a curveball, and that curveball has gone really well for him. Well, the fastball's already been there. We were trying to tighten up the cutter a little bit, but this year the curveball showed up, and he's getting guys out. If you're getting guys out in Double-A with the pitch, let's see if you can get guys out in Triple-A. And then he started getting guys out at Triple-A. We had a need at the big leagues. We got a call from Terry Francona and Chris Antonetti and Mike Chernoff, and they said, hey, we're going to give this guy an opportunity. We didn't draw it up this way. Sometimes we get too much credit for being this far ahead. When did you get any credit? And this is where this is going, folks. Here's how I know that the Indians are hopelessly dead. All right? First of all, when their director of player development has no idea that two players like Plesac and Bieber would be ready to play at the major league level, especially in a season, this season, to not have Plesac on the radar when you've lost your two good starting pitchers, Clevenger and Kluber, right? And now Jeffrey Rodriguez has pulled something in his lat. So this is what you have, a guy who just doesn't know. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you next about not knowing. Here's news. This is off of the wire, okay? The San Diego Padres activated catcher Francisco Mejia from the 10-day injured list and immediately optioned him to AAA El Paso on Saturday. The most notable move here is the demotion of Mejia, formerly a star prospect whose career hasn't gotten off the ground in San Diego. The Padres acquired Mejia, and then ESPN prospect guru Keith Law's fifth-ranked farmhand from the Indians for Brad Hand and Adam Simber. And since then, Mejia's hit 176 in 116 plate appearances with the Padres, and he did not acquit himself well defensively. Well, why would he? He didn't want to be a catcher, right? We all know that, right? Or he did want to be a catcher, and the Indians didn't want him to be a catcher. Whatever the hell it was. When he got a chance to catch, he wasn't good defensively. The thing that's amazing is it's wide open. Austin Hedges and Austin Allen, Austin and Austin Incorporated, are the two catchers in San Diego, and neither of them can hit. They couldn't hit an old lady with a Louisville slugger, honest to God. While there's no word on how long Mejia will stay in the minor leagues, it's worth keeping an eye on as far as his service time. He entered the season with 62 days service and has amassed another 65 this year, giving him an overall score of 127. That means he needs another 45 to accrue a full year of service, and that means he's on pace to reach free agency after the 2024 campaign. So that's the first thing, right? The guy who is your number one prospect, James Harris, is a bust, all right? At least he is in San Diego where he got a chance to play, but that's not all. What if things hadn't changed, you little Indians followers, you, and we still had the Andrew Miller? Well, he's got a 4 earned run average, and in 20 innings, he's given up 19 hits, and he's given up 9 home runs in 20 innings. That's just like Cookie Carrasco. That's right. For every 2 innings pitched, he's given up a gopher ball. This is not the same Andrew Miller. He's 34 years of age. All right? So for those people who say, oh, what about our bullpen? It's like he wouldn't have helped us in any meaningful way. And then there's Cody Allen, our closer. Remember him? Well, this year he's got a 4.74 earned run average. And you want to know what's really interesting? In 19 innings pitched, he's given up 6 home runs, 1 every 3 innings. And he's given up 17 hits and 10 runs in 19 innings. And he's not the same pitcher he was. He's only 30, but they threw his arm out. So, I mean, right off the bat, you take a look at the Indian situation, and it's like, who was the guy we were cursing about the Indians not keeping? That was Jesus Aguilar, right?
Right.
Last year, 35 home runs, 108 runs batted in. When we didn't even have a first baseman, and we went with Yonder Alonso. The guy was hitting 180 this year, right? Well, this year, if you haven't noticed, why you're not hearing about Jesus Aguilar, he's hitting 190. He's only hit 4 home runs, and they're giving up on him in Milwaukee. 166 at bats, 41 strikeouts. 1 out of every 4 times he comes to the plate. No power, nothing. He's 29 years old. He had his one great year, and that was all. That was another guy. So if you really want to start looking at the Cleveland Indians, here's what James Harris, our guy, is telling us about the Indians organization. Top prospects? Why, there's Bobby Bradley. He's hitting 285 with 16 home runs and 43 runs batted in. Congratulations, Mr. Hoover. That puts you at the top of your class. 285, 16 home runs, 43 runs batted in. And here is the description of why Bradley has done better this year. 2 years ago, he came to camp having lost 30 pounds. He was in great shape, but he didn't feel strong at the plate. So this spring, he came to camp after regaining all the weight he'd lost, plus gaining some. He felt strong, but he wasn't in good shape. Now, don't they have people who are in charge of this shit? Finally, in the first month or so of the season, he's put himself in a happy place, said Harris. You see him playing better defense. He's more athletic. But in order to do that, he's been devoted to his early work. He's hitting left-handed pitching now. He's hitting breaking balls now. He's made improvements in a lot of areas. That's the guy that is the top power hitting guy in our minor league system. He doesn't know whether he wants to be this weight or that weight. And on a developmental side, we're just trying to give him the most opportunities to show and compete and continue to develop, said Harris. When the time is right, when he can help the big league team, we will feel good about him being there. That means it's not time for that yet. That's your number one guy. How about outfielder Daniel Johnson? This all will have a central theme in a minute here, folks. We got him from the Nationals as part of the Yan Gomes deal. By the way, Yan Gomes isn't hitting either. Right? I don't have any stats on him, but I'll pull them up just because I'm that kind of cow. But, you know, all those people who say, you know, Yan Gomes, he's really a fine ball player. It's like Yan Gomes had one good year, and then he had a bunch of shitty years, and then one good year again. This year he's hitting 232 with 2 home runs. Thank you.
He was basically Kluber's caddy. That was about it.
That really is about the extent of it. Correct. So we traded him off, and we got Daniel Johnson. And we also got Jeffrey Rodriguez. Johnson started the year at Akron. He hit 253 at Akron, including 10 home runs and 33 runs batted in. The Indians were really excited because he hits for a low average and occasionally hits the long ball.
My kind of guy. He's right in our wheelhouse.
Meanwhile, in his first 9 games at Columbus, he's hitting 333 with 8 extra base hits, including a homer and 5 ribbies. From the offensive side at AA, he showed power, had decent splits against lefties and righties, played good defense, and came to work every day. That's great. He came to work every day. All right.
Let's frame his time card.
Regarding at AAA, Harris said it's too small of a sample size, but so far so good. He's not ready to do anything for the big league team. How about Will Benson, the guy they took #1 and out of high school in 2016? He's hitting 278, but this is his second year at Lake County. Now, this is a real red flag. He has struck out 152 times last year at Lake County, and he struck out 67 times so far this year with more production. He's taken a step forward this year, said Harris. He's being more selective, and everyone in the Midwest League knows who he is. They're trying to get him out. Well, they struck him out 67 times.
Well, sounds successful to me.
My goodness. The 6'5", 225-pound Benson has stolen 18 bases in 19 attempts and will also come running towards you if you call him Bradley Zimmer. When will they ever learn? Boo. All right. Now we're down to Yu Chang.
Everybody, Hugh Chang.
Yu Chang tonight. Exactly right.
What else could it be?
Across the nation, around the world. Everybody, Yu Chang. Yeah.
Everybody, have fun.
Chang is on the disabled list at Columbus, so he's not going anywhere anytime real soon. He sprained a finger because of the way he holds the bat. Details.
Remember, pinky out.
You know something? What in the hell would happen to the rest of his hand when he's jerking off? That's what I want to know. If the guy can't hold the bat correct, forget it. I forgot he's from Taiwan. Not important.
Taiwan on, huh?
Yeah, he holds the bottom of the bat a little differently than some people, said Harris. He had a finger sprain that he's coming back from. This is not a surgery deal at this time. This is just a situation where he didn't feel comfortable holding the bat. We decided to let him take some time off, let it calm down, and then we'll put the bat back in his hand and he'll start swinging it incorrectly again real soon. I know. Now, if this isn't painting a really good picture for you, how about Tristan McKenzie, who still hasn't pitched in games this year? He'll come running to you if you refer to him as Danny Salazar. You can't keep missing, folks. The reason that the Cleveland Indians decided to give up is that there is no help below. There was nothing that was going to sustain the Cleveland Indians as a professional baseball contending franchise except high-priced free agents that they cannot afford. They have been delinquent in developing talent in the minor leagues to the point where the few guys who have made it have been misdiagnosed and not brought up soon enough and are not even on the radar of player development people within the organization. They are a shit organization. There is no reason why you cannot develop some degree of minor league talent. There is no reason except that you're picking the wrong people and that your people down there are not instructing those people very well. But my goodness, you look at the records of the guys coming out of AA and AAA, and you look at the success that the Indians had during their great run of Dick Jacobs, and you start looking at the young players that they got in trades, but also the Tomies, the Bells, the Bartolo Colognes that they developed in their minor league system that didn't just become decent players, but they became really good players. And a couple good trades, a couple good developed players, and and look, the Indians, if they had anything to back up in their minor league system, Francisco Lindor and the bizarre situation that has occurred with Ramirez, I mean, honest to God, that's like the wheels coming off. But we'll still say that maybe there's something wrong with him. I don't know. But had you had something to back it up in the minor leagues to develop more young players, that would be the only way the Indians could compete and contend anyway. But we were not going to be financially in the running for any of the guys who were free agents or who were free agents. And reading this stuff to you folks, do you understand now the depth of the problem? This isn't a now problem. This is a forever problem, because by the time that Ramirez and Lindor are gone, and they will be with their free agency, there will be nobody at all. There will be nobody developed in this system. The only thing they're developing are some pitchers, and honestly, the hitting is so bad in this organization. I mean, when your top prospect isn't even anywhere near ready to come up and he's already 23 years old, no, it's just not going to work. That's why the Cleveland Indians are bad. And it's why the ownership just said we're packing it in, because rather than pay people big money, especially the guys they already had, trying to bring back the old Andrew Millers and the damaged Cody Allens and all of that, they didn't want to spend the money because they knew that there was nothing ahead for the organization. This isn't just a tank. This is incompetence in the minor league system. And so they stuck money in their pocket, figuring to themselves, we're not going to be any good anyway. That's why the Cleveland Indians aren't any good. So hope that clears it up for you folks once and for all. Roger, good.
My DVD of Major League now is starting to look like a documentary.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty lame. The whole thing is pretty damn lame. But, you know, it's a summer of something not to talk about. You know, Roger Goodell is saying, 4 preseason games remain too many. The commissioner reiterated on Monday, saying that the preseason schedule is maybe just too damn long.
But yet the owners want to try to have an 18-game season.
Well, that's all what it's all about. I feel what we should be doing is always to the highest quality. I'm not sure preseason games meet that level, Goodell said, while participating in Pro Football Hall of Fame quarterback Jim Kelly's 33rd charity golf tournament. And Jim Kelly is a charity himself. I didn't say that. I'm not sure, talking with coaches, that 4 preseason games is necessary anymore to get ready for a season, to evaluate players and to develop them. There are other ways of doing that, like more regular season games to promote more brain damage, he said.
We're not making enough money off the preseason. That's basically what it is.
Without revealing any details, Goodell called it the best sign that the league and union have already had discussions for 21 months before the CBA expires following the 2020 season. The whole thing is just ridiculous. I don't like preseason football from a exciting fans perspective. It is kind of a nice thing for doing sports talk podcasts because it takes the month of August and we can talk about lesser known players and maybe who's going to move up and impact the roster and special teams, or maybe as like a guy who's a situational player. We can talk about who we like on film and who we don't think we like so much. Who's going to get cut? Who's going to get visited by the Turk first and who's going to get slashed last? I mean, from a sit down and watch the games perspective, no, that's not what it's about. It's the stuff of which what I do and zillions of others of fans do. It's a conversation starter. But it also doesn't force the players into 2 more dangerous football games. I mean, hasn't Roger Goodell seen enough injury in these NFL seasons? I guarantee you, if Tom Brady went down in week 2, maybe he'd see it differently. Maybe if it affected his boyfriend, jerk-off king, Robert Kraft, maybe he would see things differently. I don't see the answer to this adding more punishment to the players. In fact, to be very honest, everybody knows who the guys for the majority of the roster guys are going to be. I mean, really, what are we at now for roster numbers, Rick? Do you know off the top?
Right now, I'm not sure. I know it always ends up being 53 at the end.
Didn't they increase it, or am I wrong?
Well, when they talked about Roethlisberger and his 52 kids, I figured that's why, figured him in with that's how you get to the final 53 for the regular season. But they could have anywhere like 70 or 80 out there with the taxi squad and what have you. And basically, the last couple games, you're just figuring out who's going to be on your special team squad. By that point, you've fairly well established who's going to be on your offensive and defensive sides.
Yeah. Well, to me, the rosters, the whole preseason is about 4 or 5 young men getting a chance to be on an NFL roster. The rest who show well being put on developmental squad and are the first ones called upon if they continue working hard and show people, that they're really willing to bust ass. That's really what it is.
And trying to keep the veterans from getting hurt.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, they're basically the ones who are, taking the shrapnel, right? Jake Miller saying, translation of Goodell, since the CTE lawsuit is over, I want to sneak more brain damage into the game just to make a profit. That's right. That's what it's always been about. But, preseason football, he's talking about, wow, these are not up to the standards of competitive. That's not what it ever was. Thank you, Brian. 53, but 46 dress. I mean, so really, we're talking about 4 or 5 guys here. All right. Really be, going to be on, and most of those guys are going to fit on the squad as special teams players who are just suicide squad guys and who are truly expendable in the eyes of the NFL. That's who they are. They're people who are going to, if they end up being carted off the field, so be it. There's 4 or 5 more on the developmental squad waiting,
Yeah. The only thing about preseason is which team are they going to pick for their hard knock story?
Yeah, wasn't the Raiders down trying to say that they wanted to be on there?
Well, judging by who they've brought in so far this year, they'd probably be the most interesting storyline.
Yeah,
throwing in Richie Incognito, that was just the icing on the cake.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of figure that but that they've been stumping for that, and I'll tell you one thing: the Browns last year really turned out to be a boon, and I was wrong about this. I mean, go figure. But I was afraid that the Browns might become a laughing stock. Yeah, with the whole Hugh Jackson thing and all the stuff that we were carrying over in the baggage from the previous year, it really could have worked in the wrong way. But the fact that, Hugh ended up getting shit canned and all, it kind of worked to our advantage. The fact that Baker got to play. And then after the fact, people said, oh my God, this team really is getting better. And so it kind of, I guess it was a good thing for the Browns. It may not be a good thing for somebody else, but, the Browns had nowhere to go but up, right?
Process that should have started sooner. Maybe that show sort of, jolted it forward, gave it a little kickstart.
I mean, here's something for you. And this will tell you how easy it is to go from having a good season to having a nothing season. Jacksonville Jaguars, who have been a team that has struggled, franchise attracting fan attention down here in Florida. They just signed Terrell Pryor this morning. It's amazing. In his career, he has 115 catches. The 1 year in Cleveland, 77. The rest of his career, well, figure it out, is 38 catches. Unbelievable. He's already 29 years old, right?
Jeez.
And he is the second most experienced receiver on the Jags roster. And you're wondering, why Nick Foles wants to get into camp and Nick Foles' wife wants him to get to camp, because it's like, you better develop a chemistry because these guys aren't very good. The whole thing here is it's a weird, Dede Westbrook is their top guy, the Jags' top receiver, and he's had drop problems. He caught 66 passes for 717 yards, The Jags scored only 4 touchdowns in the final 5 games of the season, and one was on a pick 6. Here's the names of their other receivers on their roster: Michael Walker, Raphael Leonard, Tyre Brady, Drederick Snelson, and C.J. Board. C.J. Board once was on a Browns practice squad. He has no career catches, all right?
Scarf up their rookie cards, huh?
Oh my, yeah.
I think between them, you might get them all together. You might have a quarter there or two.
Here's the scariest part. You want to find out how much trouble they're in. To make room for Pryor on the roster, the Jaguars released Lyndon Johnson. That's fucked up.
Americans.
I come to you with a heavy heart.
Lady
It's
Bird
been
had
dead for decades, so they just
Lady
released
Bird
him.
had no comment on the story.
My
I'll be out with
God.
my flowers.
Now, here's the great story of Terrell Pryor, if you're not following the drama. He played for the Jets and Bills last season, but was released by both teams after short stays. The Jets released him on October 20th after he tore a groin muscle. He signed with the Bills 10 days later and said he felt underused in 6 games with the Jets to begin the season. But he only lasted 2 weeks with Buffalo, and he caught 2 passes for 17 yards. Yeah.
Not exactly overused, was he?
No, and then he signed a 1-year deal with the Washington Redskins in 2017, rejecting a multi-year offer by the Browns after his breakout season, but the move didn't work out. Instead, he had 20 catches for 240 yards and needed ankle surgery. So, for those people looking at the Cleveland Browns, and we're all kind of licking our chops because we got some really good players, just remember that you're one hit away from humility. Baker Mayfield goes down, the Cleveland Browns go down. OBJ ain't going to matter. Landry ain't going to matter. It ain't going to matter who's blocking up front. You got nobody behind him. And that is scary when you're staring down 16 games. That is a frightening prospect because every young Cleveland Browns quarterback has gotten hurt. Every single one of them. So, the Jaguars were supposed to be so close to being a Super Bowl team, remember? Blake Bortles gone,
Yeah. Wonder if they'll put Pryor on the quarterback list, like a third stringer or something like that.
Well, the fact is nobody's taking him seriously. And for him to have turned down the multi-year from the Browns, his agent was terrible. I mean, the whole thing is just a bad situation. Meanwhile, Gerald McCoy is still thinking he's playing Hamlet. In a perfect world, McCoy would like to attend his new team's minicamp. Blah, 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 blah. He should have announced today if he wanted to do that, folks. Of the 3 teams, the Browns still have the most cap space to sign this guy. McCoy is hoping to make $10 million a year. I'm still waiting to get a blowjob from Julia Roberts. All right. I have been waiting for years, and she's getting older, folks. She's getting older. I'd still take it. I'm holding out. I'm holding out. Head from
I'm at the
Julia
point
Roberts.
now where I'll just settle for a Publishers Clearinghouse check.
Yeah. But, I mean, you can wait and wait and wait and wait. He's hoping to make $10 million a year, the same as what Ndamukong Suh made to replace him in Tampa, because he still hasn't gotten that taste out of his mouth. According to the NFL Network, he turned down $11 million from a non-contender.
Wonder if he's going to wait until after all the mandatory mini camps are all over. Then all of a sudden he'll just sign. So he didn't have to attend.
You know what's really funny? Gerald McCoy has visited every team in the AFC North, right?
Mm-hmm.
Came to the Browns, went to the Ravens, and he visited with the Bengals, right? Everybody knows that. So he's already turned down $11 million from a non-contender. Who are the Cincinnati Bengals, Alex? Ding, 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 ding. I mean, come on.
Must be in the form of a question. Who are the Cincinnati Bengals? Got it.
Yeah. So $11 million Cincinnati was willing to pay him, and he said no. Thank you. Sam White was beside himself saying, "This isn't Cleveland." And McCoy said, "I know. I know, that's why I'm not signing here." Unbelievable. People get numbers in their head, and the fact of the matter is he should have taken the 11 if that's the money he wanted to make. The Browns aren't going to spend that much on him and don't have to. right? I will tell you what I believe. I believe that you're going to see McCoy signing for around $7 to $8 million, and I don't think that he's going to get double digits. And I don't, as far as up to 10 million a year. And realistically, the Ravens, borderline contenders. Somebody's got to come out of the AFC North. There's no real favorite, but based on momentum and early productive talent and experience offensively, the Browns are a long ways ahead of the Ravens. The Ravens are a long way ahead of the Browns defensively. So, meanwhile, the Panthers, Ron Rivera, I can't believe he's still a head coach. My God. They should let him play linebacker and get more brain damage. Gerald is a solid football player, and he's a guy we're most certainly interested here. We'd love to have him here and part of what we're doing, but he's still going through the process. We're just patiently waiting to see what the outcome is going to be. He thought their meeting went very, very well. Blah, 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 blah. We'll see. He should have announced this today, folks. If he's serious about going to minicamp, but nobody's really serious about going to minicamp when you're 34 years old and an old guy, Yeah.
We have a Derek Frisbee sighting.
Can you hear me?
Oh, my God.
Yep.
Hey, so here's the deal. I'm going to ask for a little bit of a break. I just got my wisdom teeth out 2 days ago. So
oh, my goodness. I was going to say, you look like a chipmunk, dude.
Dude, I look like Fat Elvis yesterday.
Wow. I was going to say, man, you must have been hitting Dunkin' Donuts, man, like seriously hard. Wait a minute. Wait, I want to do something with your face on that screen, and I feel bad because I know the wisdom tooth thing is tough.
I was ready to cut my head off there the first day after. Well, can I explain the story real quick?
No, because I want to do something first, and then you can explain the story real quick.
Christmas, Christmas time is here. Time for love and time for cheer.
Wait.
I want
Okay, I just wanted to do that. Okay, now Derek, tell us the story about your toothlessness.
Well, I'll keep this quick, and it is entertaining, and that's the only reason why I'm telling it. So you can laugh at my pain. When did I get it out? I got them out Thursday, and I went after work, got them out. Surgery wasn't as bad as I expected, but here's what I didn't realize. Afterwards, my mom goes, "Oh, we don't have any pain pills or nothing at home, so we got to wait for the prescription to come in." I'm in the Kroger parking lot waiting for hours. Well, not hours, but like a good hour, okay? Now, keep in mind, the shots and stuff, I didn't go under anesthesia. They just gave me shots for numbing. So that stuff started to wear off. So that started hurting real bad. And I'm sitting in the Kroger parking lot, and this big black guy comes walking out of Kroger. I'm sitting in the car, blood dripping out of my mouth, spit, just nasty. He looks at me like, "What happened to you?" I was like, "Dude, just keep walking." So, yeah. So basically, the bottom line to that story is I got embarrassed. And, most of the numbing wore off, so I was hurting for a good while. So, yeah.
How many of the teeth you have taken out?
All of them.
4 of them?
4 of them. All of them.
Nope, that's
why? Better. They do that now, but was there a reason for this?
Well, partially because I'd much rather have all of them out at once. That way, number one, I can go back to work quicker. And then number two, I'm not dealing with knowing how bad it hurt the first time. And then, so I'm glad they all got taken out, but in the same light, it hurts. It really does.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta, and that was kind of that's no pain pills too. I mean, the one thing I can tell you is, from what I understand, after it's really bad in the aftermath, the swelling and the discomfort, but it does die down relatively quickly. I mean,
Yeah, today's hurt. It's hurting, but I mean, at least like I can talk now.
are you on I hope you're on a soft food diet here, Derek.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've been eating nonstop pudding, and that was it for the last few days.
Yeah,
So,
that's what happened to me. I had all four of mine taken out on a Monday. I was able to eat solid food by Friday, but in between it was scrambled eggs, applesauce, stuff like that.
do I need to go horizontal here? Is this better?
No. You're fine. You're fine. Have you found that it really is a deterrent to sucking dick?
I can't even hardly open my mouth at all.
It's an honest answer. I mean, it's like, yeah.
If they do The Godfather over again, I'd have you audition.
Absolutely. I was going to say, if you want to keep the lights on at home, just make sure your mom doesn't have hers removed, okay? I love you, Derek.
I just got back and we're already started.
Welcome back. We missed you.
Here's the
I can
news.
tell you this. I would not like to have wisdom teeth removed. I've got all 4 of my wisdom teeth. I got all 4 of them still. I'm one of the few who reached this age and have that to be, to be the case.
Oh, it's
but
pure hell.
Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing. It ain't as bad as a knee replacement. Yeah, I always will fall back on the fact that the knee replacement and months and months and months of just complete, icing 4.5, 5 hours a day. I mean, it was really difficult. The good news in this is, as bad as it seems, did they give you hydrocodone? Is that what they gave you?
They gave me
like Percocet.
They do. They gave me 2 pain pills. One was ibuprofen, like 800, I think. And then one, I don't know, it was something, it was a big pill. And then they gave me penicillin.
Okay, antibiotic.
But anyway, no, I was going to tell you.
So it was non-narcotic. They gave you a non-narcotic. So, wow, that doesn't help much.
I don't know.
Yeah,
But
go ahead.
here's the good news. Now that it's summer, I am out of school. So
Good.
I should be on every show now. I was going to try Friday, but I didn't realize that I'd want to kill myself the day after surgery, so that got thrown out the window. So,
Well, I mean, we're glad you're back. We're glad you're okay, and I know that this is a particularly tough thing. But the funny thing is, at your age, that's what they're doing now. They're removing all 4. And the reason they say that they do that, and first of all, it's more money for the dentist so he can visit the beaches in Bimini. That's the first reason. The second reason is that if they remove one, it leaves an open space. And what can happen is your teeth can shift, all right? And it's what they call occlusion, which is your bite and how you bite down. And if you have 2 lowers and no uppers, or you have,
these 2 gone and these stay.
Right. I mean, it's imbalanced where there's one and there's no landing spot for it. They say that can cause problems too. So they just go ahead and just rip all 4 out.
I was glad because I had a lot of people telling me, it's not that bad. It'll be fine. The surgery's not bad. What they didn't tell me was the after surgery part, especially being off of the numbing there for a good 20 minutes.
And that's the worst thing is if you're doing pain pills of any kind, and this is for all viewers out there, do not wait until the painkiller that they shoot you with dies, because you'll miss the curve. What you want to do is take that pain med the second you get home. And the reason you do that is so that the cycle of pain doesn't kick in, because once you fall behind the curve, it is really hell. When I came back from my knee replacement was an outpatient procedure. They kicked me out of the hospital and I came home. They shot me up with what they said would last for about 24 to 48 hours. It didn't last no 48 hours, but they said the second you get home, you start taking the hydrocodone. And so I did. And as a result of that, it diminished my discomfort. And I was able to sleep from day one, from night one, which was nothing short of amazing for the circumstances. But when you have to sit around and wait and the pain sets in, it's bad news. So, but it'll be one thing and it'll be over with. And, you know, you won't have to worry about impacted wisdom teeth, them growing in sideways, and all the weird shit that happens with those things will cause them to get extracted. I had one tooth extraction. See, this one right here is actually an implant, and they had to pull that one because it abscessed. So that was the only time I got a tooth extracted, and that's a weird feeling when they go in with the pliers. When they, you know.
Well, I wasn't too thrilled. I just got back from my follow-up appointment. They said everything's fine, but as I'm sitting in the chair waiting, I found out about McCoy signing with the Panthers.
Oh, did he sign with the Panthers?
He signed with the Panthers.
No, Ron Rivera.
Yeah, he said, "quote
About
I want
40
to win."
minutes ago. We can type it in the chat. You haven't been looking at it.
Oh, well, I'm so sorry. God.
It's all your fault.
No, it
All
isn't.
your
If I
fault.
go to the chat
Your
room, I have to
fault.
watch, look at Amsterdam making inane comments.
No, he signed for 1 year, $4 million guaranteed.
How much?
$4 million guaranteed, $10 million, blah blah blah. Usual bollocks.
$4 million guaranteed,
$10
and
million.
and the chance to make $10 million if he hits
Yeah.
certain
I
milestones.
don't know. Whatever.
I just
He's gone.
don't get it.
How
He
is
said
that a
he wanted to
contender?
win. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
He stayed in the same division too, didn't he?
And Cam Newton could be out depending on how he recovers. So
That is just bizarre. You know, I noticed one other thing again. They have taken the control panel right out of this studio. That is no longer a functional thing. So, like, Derek, your microphone is a little bit low. Before I could actually move that up a little bit, but I can't do that anymore.
I'm on my phone. I'm actually at church right now because my mom had something she had to do, so she couldn't drop me off at home. So I'm at church, so I'm on my phone, and I can't. I mean, I can turn this up, but I don't think that does anything.
No. It's not that you sound bad. No, you're okay. I mean, let me ask you: does your church do fish fries?
Not that I know of.
Oh, suggested, and it would be like you could put a little placard out in front of the church saying, "A night with God Almighty." What do you think?
Maybe get one of that talking bass thing, put on the wall, have it sing.
Well, it was funny. This morning I was doing my workout on the treadmill. I was, talking with somebody on the phone, and there was this woman who was right next to me on the treadmill. And technically, you're not supposed to talk on a cell phone when you're working out in the gym. That's a rule that I break regularly. And
Really?
well, yeah, I do because I don't know why not, because it's not like I have it on speakerphone and all. It's got a
Who
headset on.
cares?
Yeah, I know. And the thing is that there are people talking to people right next to them, both treadmilling, and that's okay. But you can't talk on the phone. I never understood it.
God
But-
forbid you talk on the phone.
I made reference to the fact that, God Almighty. It's an expression, oh my God. It's like an aquatic.
You're my cod to thee, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and this woman turns and looks at me and gives me a dirty look. And it's like, what did I say? I said, God Almighty. It's like, God, she looked at me like there was something fishy going on.
I have not missed the rough jokes here. That's one thing I haven't missed.
The what joke?
I said the rough jokes.
Oh, no. Yeah, I know it.
Oh.
It's part of the program, always will be. But, so we're glad that you're back, and we're going to need the help going in here because, to be honest, Eric, we were talking before the show. I said, I think you were gone for good.
You haven't pissed me off that much yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Let's have to
You're
keep
getting
trying, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really don't have anything else to talk about, but I am.
What time is it?
It's 7:05. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was earlier now. Oh, my bad.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it's great. If you could be here because, we need all the help we can get. And
Are you saying you need me? I never thought I'd hear that.
I didn't say that. I said I need all the help I can get, and even if it comes in the form of kind of
Chipmunk looking teenagers.
I knew the second that I saw you, either somebody punched you in the mouth or something had gone on, because it was like, whoa, you're swollen up there, man. I mean, that's before.
And this is nothing compared to like even yesterday. It was like out to here.
Wow.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Oh, you were approaching Richard Nixon then.
I'm not a crook. I will never forget Richard Nixon. God only knows.
I did an essay on Watergate. Did I tell you about that?
Oh, really?
That's interesting.
Yeah, that was my end of history final. Was I had to do a 4-page essay, and they had a list of topics, and I thought, well, I knew about Watergate, but I didn't get deep into it. I mean, I knew, everything the public knew, but as far as like reading about it and getting deep into it, I didn't care that much. So I thought, okay, I'll do that. So I did, and it was very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is back then, news collection was a real deal. So, I mean, when you had Woodward and Bernstein, who were really pursuing the story from the get-go, you were really getting what we call in Judaism, the emes truth. Emes is Jewish, Hebrew for truth. You were getting the real truth. Now, God only knows if something like that were going on, you'd have, different sources saying different things, and nobody would ever get to the bottom of anything. So,
well, my favorite thing, just to end it here, my favorite thing about the whole thing was I could sit down and talk to my grandparents and talk to my uncles and say, hey, you were around that time. How was the general public, So that was cool from a journalist interview perspective. I could sit down and say, how was, news? How was, everyday life? So
it's the closest that this country would ever come to. And with Gerald Ford, the stumbling, bumbling one who pardoned Nixon, I will say this, that Nixon deserved no pardoning because he was a real, not a very good person. But
he was supposed to win again, so I don't know why he would do it.
Well, because, I mean, that was the quality in him that could never, win at all costs.
He was vindictive. There was the Pentagon Papers, Daniel Ellsberg, and the Plumbers Group that started it all off before the Watergate break-in even happened. So it all related to the Dirty Tricks group that he assembled.
Ehrlichman, Ehrlichman and Haldeman.
Yeah,
they were bad news. But I remember the campaign slogan from '72. Richard Nixon in '72: "Don't change dicks in the middle of a screw." That's But today, who knows what's going on behind closed doors in Washington, and what we have now, where
you don't know anything.
Conspiracy theories. That's what keeps conspiracy theories going, is that we don't know the truth and nobody can report the truth. And so, but one thing I will say, that pardoning Richard Nixon was probably in the best interest of the country, because we didn't want that to affect the status or the standing of our country globally. But Nixon never got the comeuppance, perhaps, that he deserved out of the whole thing, because he was a smart guy. Make no mistake. He was an intelligent fellow.
Intelligent guy. He did some good things too. He started the EPA. He started Title IX.
Yeah.
He was flawed. Up Russia and China. He did some good things.
A classically flawed individual. But, hey, we talk about Trump, and people will compare, the White House in this administration to the White House back then. And something, different times, different circumstances. And no, I wouldn't even go there and make anywhere near that kind of a comparison, because Nixon was smart. Thanks again for tuning into this edition.
I won't say anything.
I know. Thanks for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. We'll be back again on Friday to talk more about why in the hell Gerald McCoy went to, God, I mean, does he realize, I guess that I told you that the Browns and the Ravens wouldn't go that price, and a non-contender offered him 11, and then a non-contender offered him 10. Believe me, with Cam Newton, Donovan McNabb, Cam Newton at quarterback, they're not going anywhere. That team's not going anywhere. They're another example of a team that was just one step away from being a really solid performer. And once the quarterback position became really debatable with the Panthers, it all went to hell. It all went to hell. And you got to have that position. And Cam Newton has been a disappointment. And not, he's kind of like the guy who plays well during the regular season but fades, during the playoffs. He doesn't seem to have the star quality of a quarterback who plays big in the big moments. He just never lived up to that kind of hype. And I think a lot of people wanted him to. I was never that high on him, but you kind of hoped, and then he kind of became a dick. He became really defensive with the press, and he became, things started unraveling real quickly there. And it's not that he's old, washed up that way. The roster around him has taken a hit, and he has weathered. By the end of last year, he couldn't throw the football down the field. His arm was shot. I mean, he was hurt. So
that's why they drafted a quarterback. They wouldn't draft one for no reason.
That's right. And so Gerald McCoy, hey, you're not in the AFC North. That's all right. I'll take my chances against the Ravens. We'll be back again on Friday to talk more about the Browns in the AFC North. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.